this is Joe Lewkowicz with Coldwell Banker Realty, and this is the August live stream for the Northwest Tampa real estate market. Just wanting to give you an idea of what's happening with the market and also answer questions that are coming in. So starting with where we are in August 2018, which is where we're at right now, the market has still been very strong. Prices have been holding up. But prices have gotten up so high here, the interest rates have moved up a little bit, that the market's starting to fall off just a little bit. Buyers are being very particular, especially first-time home buyers. It's very hard to come up with the down payments, and getting qualified for a loan has been considerably harder than it was in years past. Now, August is now starting the slower time of year. School started last week, and if you've missed the market, for which the best time to sell is April, May, June, July, the market's still really strong. Better to do it now. You don't want to, if possible, you don't want to be selling in December and January, although those can be a great time to buy a house. Now, going back to buying a house at that time of year, December, January, February, great time to buy. Price-wise, a lot less inventory available. People haven't put up their houses for sale. Now, builders also want to make a deal at that time if they've got an existing inventory, but that's been one of the problems that we've been running into with builders getting with a mix of getting permits, a mix of getting construction done, so they don't have a lot of inventory. But if anything's going to be available, December, January, February is a great time to buy. Great time to sell is April through July. If you're going to do it now, August, September is still a great time to sell, but you've got to be very price sensitive. Make sure that you were priced correctly. Don't listen to your neighbors as to what the price is. Listen to somebody who really knows what they're talking about, like myself or any other good real estate agent, whether, now up in Northwest Tampa is what I work on. If it's someplace else, somebody else can give you really good advice about that. So just remember, be very price cognizant. That's what's happening now, especially August, September, October. You don't have opportunities to have it stay on the market. Now, what this happened is a question that came up to me yesterday. What is the biggest thing that happens when you're out showing a property or I have a house for sale? When I'm showing houses to people or people are looking at my listings, they already know what price range they can afford. So in other words, let's say they're looking at a house for $300,000 or $350,000. They know that's the maximum that they can afford. Their biggest question is always, how long has it been on the market? I have a house that's on a lake right now. We really started at a high price. And I thought market's going in, getting really good. But I had a couple go, it's been on the market for 170 days, which is not quite 6 months, but it's a long time. They're going, what's wrong with it? Well, we started out $100,000 more than we are right now. That's the only thing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the house. It's actually a great house. But people are very price sensitive, and the general public doesn't know. They think something's wrong with the house. So that's why price it right, get it on the market right off the bat. So with that, that's kind of the overview of what's happening in Northwest Tampa. Let's see what kind of questions may be coming through from people live streaming. Okay, this kind of goes in. I have read that prices are very strong. How much have houses increased in price? Okay, according to what I'm seeing, the prices have risen roughly 6% to 7% since last year at this time. And again, it's kind of subject to the area. The further north you go towards Pasco County, less price increases, 3–4%. Carrollwood, Old Carrollwood, West Chase, certain areas of Cheval, areas that have great school systems are getting the 6 to 8, sometimes 9% appreciation. But buyers are being very particular. The houses have to have been updated. So in other words, a house that's $300,000 that maybe has a new kitchen, but still got old wall, it's built in 1984 and it's got old wallpaper in it. The bathrooms aren't updated. It's got carpet that's not been replaced. They're going to go buy, they're going to spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more, $25,000 more and buy something else that's already done. So just kind of keep that in mind. So it's like, is your house gone up that much or has the market gone up that much? The houses that are really well done are selling very well and they've gone up in that much. But the median price has gone up about 6% to 7% since last year at this time. Let's see if another question came in. How much do I need to save to buy a first home? That is a great question. And a lot of people, first-time home buyers, are our biggest issue right now. People always want to buy a house, and the 25 to 35-year-olds are the ones who need to be able to move in. Now, some people think they need to save up a 10% down payment. So you're looking at a $300,000 house. It's really hard when you're on a fixed income to save $30,000 plus another 3% of the purchase price, which is another 10 grand for loan closing costs. That'd be $40,000. You can get an FHA loan with a 3.5% down payment. All right. So in other words, that's roughly $10,000 on a $300,000 house. Now that's the maximum loan will be a little bit less than that. So you might not be able to go to quite 300,000, but just using that as an example, you can add, instead of offering a lower price, and this won't happen all the time, but the seller can pay your closing costs. So in other words, you can get into a house for roughly 3.5% to maybe 4% as a down payment. Well, it's a lot easier to save $12,000 than it is to save $30,000. So really think of getting into your first home with FHA financing. Maximum loan amounts, I believe, are like $276,000. I can never remember that number because it's never a good round number. But so $276,000 plus $12,000 is $288,000. So just figure, roughly can look up to houses for $300,000. My first advice is always talk to a good mortgage broker. If you need somebody's name, I have one or two great mortgage lenders. They're local. They know what they're doing. They've been in business for a long time, so they can give you great advice. Let's see if any other questions came in. My house has been shown a lot. Why can't I get an offer for it? And again, what's it look like? Is it priced right? Generally, it's a pricing issue, okay? Again, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about, where people are being very picky about what they're looking at. If the house needs a lot of updating, if it's got some updating, but it still needs a lot, or if it's not the world's greatest floor plan, you might be right in the market. I've got a house for $500,000 roughly. We've had 25 showings. We lowered it to $475,000. We're getting really close to getting an offer, but that's because people just still say it needs too much updating, even though it's got a new kitchen. Okay, so I'm getting the people there. I can get them there. Sometimes we might need to lower it another $10,000 or $15,000 to get it sold. I just had a house that I sold yesterday afternoon. We started at too much money. We lowered it to $350,000. Boom, sold it for $350,000. I knew where our magic number was going to be right off the bat, but you almost have to try, partly because we're at the time of year. August, again, as I was saying before, is not the time to experiment with pricing because we're on the downside of the market. So the market's not going, we're not going into the market, we're coming out of the market, and December is not a good time to sell. So if you're thinking of it, get it priced right now. Let's see if another question's come up. Are many out-of-state people buying here? How about foreigners? Okay, they're coming. A lot of people will be relocated from out of state. Tampa is a good middle-level job. There's no Fortune, I don't think there's any Fortune 500 headquarters here. There might be one, but they're going to be the kind of place where a lot of handling operations are, call centers and things like that. So that's really good here, and they're the ones being brought in from Connecticut, Chicago, Ohio, things like that. Now, the foreigners, that the Chinese market has really dried up. They've been driving it a lot. But over at the beaches, over in Naples, Venice, that's kind of where their market is. Northwest Tampa is more of a local market, more of an out-of-state, mid-level job management type of thing, where you're looking at, the median price in Northwest Tampa is running at, if I remember correctly, $263,000. So you get the idea of what we are here. As an example, compared to San Francisco, the median price is $1 million. So totally different markets, and that'll give you an idea. Mid-level managers are being transferred in. Not too many strictly foreign buyers. See if there's another question that came up. Oh, you work in Northwest Tampa. What are the hottest areas to purchase, and what factors make these good areas? Okay, so a couple areas that I think are hot, and again, anything is really good if it's priced well, okay? Bar none. It's always a money factor. But within that, the areas that I think people are looking the most for, Old Carrollwood is one of them. I call it, some people call it original Carrollwood. I'll call it Old Carrollwood. That is just north of Bush Boulevard, off of Dale Mabry, and it goes as far as, not quite as far as Fletcher. Okay, it's one of the oldest, what's called a planned unit development. Okay, so in other words, it was built 1960 to 1970, centers around Lake Carroll. It's got parks, it's got access to Lake Carroll, it's got its own beach. A lot of people move there. The people moving there used to live there, they grew up there, or they can't afford South Tampa, which is not quite double in price from Old Carrollwood, but one of the areas there. The second hottest area in that same general direction, Carrollwood Village, especially phase 1. Carrollwood Village is in 3 phases. There's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is the closest to Old Carrollwood, again, off of Dale Mabry by Fletcher. A lot of nice big houses built around the golf course, and a lot of people, again, who grew up in that area are moving there, and a lot of people who want a pretty easy commute to downtown. West Chase is another one of those really hot areas, newer area. If you haven't ever been to West Chase, it's developed around, there's a couple of pools, but more importantly, there's stores and easy access that you can walk to Starbucks, to restaurants, to everything right from your own house, and people love that idea. Plus the surrounding areas of West Chase, and again, pretty convenient to get to things. As we go further out, Cheval's always been a nice area. Got a lot of, it's got the golf course and people like being there. But more importantly, Cheval, Villa Rosa, a couple of the areas right up around there are all in a great school system. Steinbrenner High School has been really popular, and I don't mean to make a note about schools, but I get a lot of people saying they want to be in the Steinbrenner High School district. There's some other schools that they want to be in, and it can make a big difference, and people can see all these test scores for the schools now, so it really does matter. And if you're in there, that's what people are kind of looking for. Let's see if there's any other questions that are coming up. I want to make an offer for a house. Is the average cost per square foot a good indicator of value? This, to me, that's a great question, okay? And here's why I say this. I just had a guy send to me today who I have his house for sale, and it's less money per square foot than almost anybody else's out there. But his house needs updating. Before we got it sold, and we're under contract right now, but before we got it sold, we had like 20 people look at it, and everybody said it needed updating. So let's just assume that you've got 2 houses that are 2,000 square feet, and there goes $300,000. Just as an approximation. Both have a pool. Statistically, they're exactly the same. But one's got a brand new kitchen, got brand new hardwood floors, the bathrooms are redone, both bathrooms are redone, and they're done very well. It's got a new roof and it got a new AC. The other one's got a new kitchen, bathrooms aren't done, got carpet, a little bit of wood floors, and the pool is a little bit rough, okay? So, I mean, just as an example, okay, which house would you buy? They could both be the same cost per foot, $2,000, that'd be $150 per square foot that they're asking as a dollar amount, okay? The one guy who hasn't updated at all will wonder, why can't I get my house sold? Because the other one's got a really nice kitchen, which costs $40,000 or at least $35,000. The bathrooms are about 25 grand. I just had people get a bid on doing a new master bathroom in their house in Northdale, and it was $25,000. Some of these guest bathrooms cost $10,000 to $15,000 to redo. So you put in wood floors, you can easily spend $75,000 to $80,000 upgrading a house. So here you've got one $300,000 house that they've got $50,000 to $60,000 more in upgrades than this other one. They would not be the same cost per foot. It gives you a good general idea, but only a general idea. Don't get stuck on that, because I have a lot of people that really do. Let's see if there's any last questions. I don't know. I think we're getting pretty close to the end, it looks like. I've heard of something called a 4-point inspection, and what is that? Okay, so this is going to be the last question I take, and that's a great question. 4-point inspections, generally most houses that are older than 20 years, for them to get insurance, they have to get what's called this 4-point inspection. The home inspector certifies the electrical, the plumbing, the air conditioning, and the roof, okay? So in other words, if these don't work the way they're designed to work, electrical systems can have certain things wrong with the electric panel. They can have certain outlets that aren't good. Sometimes the electric panels need to be replaced. I have certain areas and electric panels can cost $2,000, $2,500 to replace. Is the air conditioner working the way it's designed to work? Does the plumbing all work? Okay, the toilets work. You know, I mean, do they work the way they were designed to? And does the roof leak? Are there leaks in it? Does it have, if it's 17 or 18 years old, you're going to have a problem, or could have a problem. If it's 22 years old and it's shingle, you're probably really going to have a problem. So won't pass the 4-point inspection. That means they can't get insurance. No insurance, they're not going to get the loan. Okay, you may say, you want to give them a credit? Probably not going to happen. You're going to need to work on that. So one of the things that I would recommend, if you're thinking of selling your house, even if you don't want to get a whole home inspection, because home inspections can be really nitpicky, you know, you don't need to know if the caulk here is this, or, you know, the door doesn't close right. Get a 4-point inspection, especially if your house is older than 20 years old, and if your roof's old, and if you've never had anybody check it, because those are the insurance issues that are going to come up. So that's the end of our August live stream. Again, my name's Joe Lewkowicz. Feel free to go to the website. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to either give me a call, send me an email. Happy to answer anything I can. Take care, and remember, nobody works harder to sell your home.